is called 100-Man Challenge. And this all came from Lou Herwaldt about 3 years ago at a board meeting saying we need to get 100 men who will really step up and make a difference in this community, who are willing to take some risks, who are willing to get involved, who are willing to make a difference in people's lives and in their own lives. So we do this every quarter, but over the period of the last 2 years doing that, we've had several hundred men involved. And this all started to go back even further when Bufe Karraker and G.L. Johnson both moved into Fresno about the same time back in 1961. Neither one were pastors at the time. And they happened to live in the same block. It's a coincidence. They lived in the same block by Fresno City College. They met each other, they shook hands, and said, let's take this city for Jesus. And that's exactly where this all began. So in memory of two of our greatest leaders, Bufe and G.L., we're going to continue to do that.
So for me, I'm just going to talk about motorcycles and Route 66 today. How did that start? It started about 1999, and I decided that, gee, I remember that old series, Route 66. I think that'd be fun to get on motorcycle and ride. My wife, I found this out a couple of years later when she kissed me goodbye in the garage, and I rode away. She thought she would not see me again until heaven. She couldn't envision anyone riding halfway across the United States and living. So she literally thought she was kissing me goodbye until heaven. I had a conversation with God about this. And I'm glad I didn't say to God, you know, if you just let me do this Route 66 ride, I'll just, every time we stop to go to the bathroom, I'll be out there telling people about Jesus, and we'll put tracts on the seat, and I mean, we'll just do all of this stuff. And I'm glad I didn't say that to God, because he would have said to me in his big booming voice, you big liar, you just want to do this. But what he did say to me in his quiet, small voice, do you mind if I do some stuff around you while you're riding? And by the way, ride in a way that you don't mess up what I'm doing. Into one ride, guy came up to me, Canadian, and he says, puts a coin in my pocket, Canadian dollar. He said, you know, I've been away from the church for quite a few years. In fact, I don't like the church much. But he says, I'm going home, and I'm going to get involved in the church again. And he said, when you reach in your pocket and you feel that coin, I want that to remind you to pray for me. 3 years later, that guy came back and did the ride again. And he came up and he said, you know what? Pastor Pat, he said, I'm an elder in my church now. I did a benefit ride one time that ended up in Selma. And so we're hanging around there in the bar, ended up in the bar at Selma. I always take, you know, I'm comfortable in that because Jesus was a friend of sinners. That was his big badge. And he was accused of a lot of stuff. So I'm standing outside, and a lot of the bikers are sitting at tables, and they all have drinks, and I'm standing there with my Diet Pepsi, and the leader comes up to me and he says, I mean, you Christians, you judge us because, I mean, we're drinking and you're having your diet, your Pepsi. And all of these bikers sitting out here, it was like E.F. Hutton was going to speak. I said, no, as I've gotten older, I just have discovered I don't grow skin like I used to. Now, if I was riding here with somebody and I wasn't driving, I'd probably be having a drink with you. Wow. He said, you know, when I was younger, I went to church. My mother made us go to church. He said, there's a passage in Mark that I have some questions about. And we had a great conversation about that passage in Mark. I'm a missionary. What that means is I look at the biker world as a mission field. And when I entered my mission field, I learned the rules and customs of that culture. That's what missionaries do. See, they better know about the customs because, like it or not, they're living under those customs and those laws even of that land. See, like it or not, when I put my patch on and I get on my Harley, I enter their world. And they were there before me. So it's important I know about the culture I'm ministering in and to. Otherwise, I'll never get to say a word. In fact, quite the opposite. You see, the biggest issue of the outlaw biker culture, and I'll refer to them as the one percenters. One percenters take great pride in the fact of how outrageous they are as outlaws. The biggest issue to them is respect. Last month, Pastor Paul Binion talked about loyalty and submitting to leadership. Let me turn my page here. To one percenters, loyalty and honoring leadership is huge. Huge. If the president of a one percenter said in January, we're going to do a ride over to Pismo, and you're all going to go without your boots. They say we'd ride without our boots. When they ride, when you see an outlaw biker group riding, there is order to that. The biker world doesn't see much respect in the Christian community. And I think it's critical then that we live abundantly, but also we do what Jesus asked us to do. He was preparing his disciples because he knew he was going to leave, and he asked us to do this: love each other and have your brothers back, because that is how we will be known. That's how the world will know us. We talk about the unchurched. In the biker world, I don't think there are a lot of unchurched bikers. I think, in fact, they have a church experience somewhere. They just got turned off. And I think that spills over a lot to other areas of the world, and especially our country. I don't think they're unchurched. I think they just got turned off by church. And consequently, it's important that we show them something different. I'm going to close with these 4 questions. Where are you living your abundant life? Where is your mission field? What are you doing that you never thought of it as a mission field? What is that thing you're doing? Well, I'm just doing it for fun. That's where God does his best stuff, by the way. And the 4th, what are you going to do about it?